This is Titletown Sound.
If Joe Flacco is worth a fourth-round pick, Antonio Brown might be worth a negative fifth-round pick.
Again, I'm just a fat dude sitting on the couch. But, I watch a lot of football.
I'm here to kick ass and make steaks, and I'm all out of steaks.
Year one, he was like, all right, guys, I don't know what Dom taught you, but you need to have 11 guys on the field.
A trained orangutan could have done a better job than Ron Zerns. I mean, not even well-trained.
Welcome, Packers fans, to episode 213 of the Titletown Sound podcast. This is the podcast for fans of the Green Bay Packers and, of course, pierogies.
Oh.
Gentlemen, I don't know if you were aware, but today is National Pierogi Day. And I'd like to read you a little piece that someone put together. Each year we set aside October 8th to celebrate everyone's favorite flavorful Polish dumplings. Pierogi were traditionally considered a peasant food, but they eventually gained, really, what they're saying is it's a blue-collar food. They gained popularity and spread through all social classes, including the nobles, and we can see why. They're made of unleavened dough, boiled and then baked and fried with butter. Then they're stuffed with the most delicious of fillings: potato and cheese, potato and onion, cabbage, mushrooms, and spinach. The list goes on, gentlemen. You could even put bacon in them. But today, on this National Pierogi Day, I welcome all of our live viewers, and I welcome you, gentlemen, my co-host, James Korsmo. Packers are 4-1, James.
4-1. 4-1. Who would have thought that?
Well, some of us predicted that at the beginning of the season. Some of us who were laughed at and mocked for predicting that the Packers would go 13-3. Those of us who believed predicted this. My other co-host, Kevin. Kevin, did you believe the Packers will be 4-1 at this point in the season?
No, but in fairness to your comment, you're also the man who purchased a Brett Hundley custom jersey. So we have to kind of weigh that a little bit, I would say.
You gotta temper your genius there, Rain Man.
You're like Drizzle Man.
That is quite true. I did buy a Brett Hundley jersey. All right, for those of you who might be joining us for the first time on our live stream, at this point in the show, what we do is we're called Titletown Sound Off. So we're obligated. No, this isn't when we get topless yet, Kevin. We're obligated to play our sound off, and here it is.
It's time to sound off.
The NFL is in a little bit of a crisis right now. Well, there's two issues facing the survival of this league, and they're related. One we've talked about on numerous occasions, and that is player safety. The NFL has to make this game safe-ish for players so that they can survive and have careers, and so that the game can go on. But the game also needs better officiating. And again, they go hand in hand. We've seen in recent Packer games concerns about how officiating has been conducted. Papa K talked about it last week on the show, that refs simply aren't going to overturn interference calls. And yet we have this rule that it can be reviewed. There's so much inconsistency with the way the game is called. It's hard to know. Remember what it was years ago? It was hard to know what a catch was. Now it's hard to know what pass interference was. And on a play where a penalty can cause a 45-yard penalty, a 45-yard gain, just on a spot foul, something has to get better. We've talked about full-time officials and whether that would help the game. And the league made some concessions, and there are now more full-time officials than ever before. And yet the officiating hasn't gotten better. There seems to be no objectivity. The fact that even though they can review these calls, they're still not getting them right. This is where the league can have its downfall. You wonder what's going to happen, whether they're going to be able to improve the situation or not, but there doesn't seem to be any way they can get better. And maybe I'm being pessimistic, but over the years, we haven't seen officiating get better. We've seen it get worse. We've seen this game less and less predictable, and these calls having a larger and larger impact on the game. So what are they to do? Well, they have to get more consistent. They have to have better training, maybe year-round work on officiating. And that's where the full-time officials come in. They have to figure out replay. Perhaps take replay out of the hands of the officials on the field at all. So they're not replaying or judging their own calls. That they're having someone upstairs or someone in New York, unrelated to that officiating crew, make the call. But it's clear. If you're going to be able to do something to protect the players, part of that is the officiating. And if you can't get either of those right, this game just won't last. We have to be willing to make the officiating better. We have to be willing to make the officials who make the bad calls more accountable. When we do that, this league can survive. Gentlemen, we saw it again this week, the officiating in the Packers game. And I know most Packers fans thought the officiating crew was really one-sided. I felt the same way. James, what did you think?
I mean, I would say it was probably like a 60-40 Dallas-Green Bay split. They let – so there was the first – I think it was the first or second big pass play that Amari Cooper came up with. He was sprinting forward as the ball was snapped. It looked like Arena League. He ran in motion across behind the line, and he literally was going forward at the snap. And that wasn't called. That's ridiculous roughing the passer penalty on Rashawn Gary.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, that was just insane.
Roughing the rusher.
Hey, look, guys. I'm roughing myself.
That's for the after hours show.
That's TTSO After Dark. So, I mean, but then at the end when Kevin King got his interception, a real good case could be made for pass interference on that one. So you got to take the good with the bad, I guess.
No, I refuse.
Well, then
that was actually in your wedding vows too, in sickness and in health. No, I don't accept that part. Only the good stuff.
Life.
So what about? Let's just talk about the game in general because I think we all want to get to that. I think the first thing that we are obligated to mention is the man, the myth, the legend, who went from 1.6 yards per carry last week to 5.6 yards per carry this week. And that, of course, is Aaron Jones. James, the man had a game for the ages as far as Packers running backs go.
He loves playing the Cowboys, man, especially down there. That's just his thing. He looked amazing, both as a running back and a receiver. He caught a couple of passes that had no business, really. I mean, even being thrown. There was one sidearm one that I still don't know how got past the defensive end's arm. Yeah. And then he made the linebackers miss. He played out of his mind. 4 touchdowns. You got to hand it to him. He really. Literally, you do. He's running back, or you can toss it to him, or Lucas Patrick could snap the ball 6 feet to the right, and he could catch it and go. No, I mean, it was an uphill battle for him. No Jamal Williams this week, unproven backup and Trey Carson. The deck was stacked against him, and he came out this week and just rammed it down their throats. It was great.
And not only that, Kevin, but he had 7 receptions on 8 targets for 75 yards.
I was looking at his numbers, and he had each individual stat. And,
Number 33.
And here's a teaser. This is going to come up later in True or False. Each of his stats that he put up would be career days for most running backs in the NFL. Yeah. 4 touchdowns, of course. I mean, 19 carries in this day and age. That's a lot. 1 Jimmy Graham block that actually will make the Hall of Fame.
Jimmy Graham threw a block for the man. That's like getting me to
eat a salad.
And not only did he throw a block, he pancaked the dude.
Yeah, what is that all about? Maybe Jimmy realized he was a bit on the hot seat after his performances in the last couple weeks. Aaron Jones with an awesome game. Certainly consistently great. And we were worried about him after last week, after, putting in that 1.6 yard per carry performance. It was a little bit concerning. And remember, all of this done without Davante Adams. Now, the funny thing is, when you look at Packers wide receivers, they didn't do much. Packers wide receivers had something like, I want to say 12 catches. It just wasn't a whole lot. But Rodgers did distribute the ball around. And James, that was something that I really like to see, was Rodgers getting the ball to a bunch of different people and making this offense effective, even if he didn't have Davante Adams.
Yep, and that is something that when the Packers have been historically successful, that is something that is what happens quite often, where 8 or 9 guys touch the ball. And I mean, it was great. Every running back got a pass. Graham got one. And there was a screen to Mercedes Lewis, which I can't even believe is in the playbook. That's unreal to me. You might as well throw a screen to that tree stump in my front yard. But I mean, it was great. It was I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be Donnie Downer here. But we've been searching for that number 2 wide receiver for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the opportunity for anybody, to step up and take that. And they ran away from it. Like nobody did. MVS had a big catch. I think the first throw of the game was a sideline grab he made. Where did he go?
He had 1 reception on 4 targets for 18 yards.
I mean, that's unacceptable if you're going to be a number 2 wide receiver.
So I was looking at targets. Geronimo Allison had 2 receptions on 6 targets. MVS, 1 reception on 4 targets. Kumaro, 1 reception on 2 targets. The wide receivers did 0. Now, Kevin, should that be a source of concern going forward? Obviously, you're going to get Davante Adams back, but are you worried that this wide receiver core did nothing?
No, I mean, in the course of this game, the wide receiver core did what they needed to do. I mean, the running backs carried the game, and that's what won it for them this particular week, right? Next week, it might be a different story. Next week, they might be in more hot water if they can't run the ball. But they did what they needed to do this week. I mean, was it great? No, but they were very good the week before. They had a bad week. I mean,
because they had Davante Adams. I guess that's
okay.
The point,
I mean, sure, that's fair, but this is 1 week. This isn't the entire scope of the season. This is a game that they won, put up 30+ points in. I particularly am not worried about that individual aspect right now.
Okay, so I'm not talking about the offense as a whole, because the offense as a whole performed very well. I'm talking about specifically the wide receivers and looking at MVS and Geronimo Allison. Like James, like you mentioned, this was an opportunity for either of them to really step up. And not only did they not step up, they
stepped up. They stepped up 2 weeks ago when Adams went out. Stop talking like they haven't performed this season. Am I correct? Did they not step up when Adams came out?
They had decent games.
Yeah, they had. What do you expect from them? They called the balls that were thrown to them.
I expect more than 1 reception on 4 targets for the number 2 wide receiver.
Okay, but again, that's 1 game. That's 1 game, because that wasn't the stat line from 2 weeks ago, and you guys know that.
Okay, so what was the stat line from 2 weeks? I mean, I'll look it up. Which game are you talking about?
The one where Adams actually left the game with the injury.
So last
game.
And MVS, they actually performed pretty well. Allison and MVS had pretty good games. We talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah, well, again, I don't think we talked about it, but when you look at the numbers, they really don't bear that out.
Okay, I mean, if you guys want to, after 1 game, I'm not worried about it. If you want to be, that's fine.
Okay.
But I've seen other things that don't worry me about it.
I'm not worried about it per se. It's just something that was disappointing to me, that the opportunity was there for somebody to come out and really grab the bull by the horns, and it didn't happen. I'm not saying that next week it's But
Aaron Jones did. He grabbed it by the balls. I mean, do you want Aaron Jones to have 107 yards, 7 receptions? And does a receiver also have to have 100 yards? I'm just having a hard time wrapping around my head what is good enough for this offense.
I want to know who's a competent number 2 receiver. That's all, and we don't have that right now.
Yeah, the receiving core did not have a great game against Detroit, against Dallas. I agree, but I don't think that it's based on everything else that I've seen. I don't think it's time to say that there's an issue with the number 2 wide receiver quite yet. Right, there was an issue with the number 2 wide receiver this week, and they didn't have a number 1 wide receiver. So they need to get better with that. But
last week, Allison and MVS had a total of 6 catches. A total. And that's my concern, especially MVS against Dallas. He had 7 targets, 3 catches. That was a little bit of a concern. I mean, he worries me because I had a lot of faith in him. And the problem with Aaron Jones stepped up. That's great. He's not going to be there every week to step up. There are concerns about him being able to remain healthy for the whole year. He's not going to be able to carry this load the whole year. But
no,
it's not a panic issue. My only question is, I wish one of them I wish one of them would have stepped up. That's all.
No, I maybe I mischaracterized what I meant. I in no way am I panicking or thinking this is a season-long drought or anything like that. It was for me just as something to keep an eye on. It disappointed me that, especially with MVS, because he's somebody that I'm really high on, and I really have a lot of high expectations for him. And it disappointed me that he didn't really live up to that. Now, and again, Aaron Jones stepped up. He had a great game. The tight ends got involved a lot more this week. That took away some opportunities. I get that. But I'm not panicking about it whatsoever. It was just an observation that somebody.
On a positive note, it's nice to see the Packers
on a what note?
Positive note. I'm sorry. Positive.
I believe that's a D sharp.
It's nice to see this Packers offense able to win games that when one part of the offense fails, another part picks up the slack. That's something we haven't always seen, especially in the last 2 or 3 years.
When you're talking about a complete game, that's what a complete game is, right? Like, even though, despite the fact that it was a close game at the end, this league is designed for what happened on Sunday, right? It's designed for Dallas to get back into it. It's designed for Dak Prescott to throw for 500 yards. The way that you win is by forcing turnovers, which the Packers did, and then scoring touchdowns, which also, the Packers were able to do for the most part.
So let's talk about the defense now, because I think you make a really good point. There is a lot made of how many yards Dak Prescott put up on the Packers. I think that's the most meaningless statistic in this game. And despite the amount of points and the amount of yards, I was really happy with the performance of the defense. Kevin, am I wrong to feel that way?
No, I absolutely agree. I think the yards is so overblown. They were up 31-3. I mean, of course there's going to be a ton of yards accumulated. That's how you play the game. I think, again, it's kind of looking at it like, oh, they gave up 508 yards. Yeah, but look what Ezekiel Elliott, their best offensive player, did. It doesn't matter what happened there, because at the end of the game, your defense did enough in order to win.
Yeah, agreed. And
they look pretty good doing it too. It wasn't like a sloppy win. They looked good doing it. I mean, if it was sloppy and Dallas handed it to them, that would be one thing. But they won that game.
Yeah, agreed. James, what did you think about the defense's performance? Despite giving up, let's see, how many yards in the air? 463 yards in the air. How did you think it performed?
I could not possibly care any less about the amount of yardage Dak Prescott got. I don't even care necessarily that Amari Cooper got 228, I think, some odd yards. I don't care, because when it came time for the defense to step up and make plays, the defense stepped up and made plays. And that leadership that Ray Lewis thinks doesn't exist,
right?
It was there in a big, big way. The Smith brothers, holy mackerel! Zadarius was constantly in the pocket.
He was also constantly writhing in pain, which was not a good sign.
Well, I question a little bit how much gamesmanship was involved in that.
Yeah,
fair enough.
But nevertheless,
there was at least 2 instances that were legit, I believe. The other 2 might not have been. Yeah, there was half a dozen instances, but.
But I mean, that as Hunter Schuer said on the live feed here, that Shannon Sullivan pick was a thing of beauty. He completely rope-a-doped Prescott into making that throw, and then he took it when it was there. And then, God bless him, he did the Nick Collins celebration afterwards, which made me happy.
It was. Let's talk about one of the negative aspects of the defensive performance, and that's not the comment I meant to show.
Heyo.
Says Alexander could not cover Amari Cooper. Yeah, Jair Alexander had a terrible game on Sunday. After having several, and this is where I'm going to agree with you, Kevin. It was one game. I'm not concerned about it. And James, I get the feeling that he is the kind of player that will learn from that experience, and he's going to come out better next week.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I mean, Amari Cooper is a very good wide receiver, but I going into the game, I didn't expect Jair Alexander to have his lunch taken, 3 or 4 times. But that being,
I haven't seen like the alternate too, but I get the sense that he didn't have as much safety help also.
Yeah, I don't think he did. I think they brought that safety up in the box against the run. But either way, and they were playing a little bit softer at times. I think when Jair's strong suit is playing, close man to man, and I think that they played a little softer that coverage, and Cooper was able to get loose. But regardless, I don't see it happening again. Like it's one of those things. He's going to go look at the tape. It's all up here. I guarantee you. I pointed to my head. Those of you that are listening to the podcast, it's all up. It's all up in his head. He's going to come back, and I expect him to get better from that. It's a learning experience. He's still young.
Yeah, Kev, what do you think about Jair Alexander? He's going to get better, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's not. Yeah, I'm not. I'm not worried about it. I think again, it's a team effort, and as long as it's not a trend, we're good. As long as it doesn't become a trend.
Agreed. Yeah, this Packers team. James, let's talk about the play calling, because this is something that you brought up pre-show. And what's your take on Matt LaFleur's play calling?
So, at the beginning of the season, the first 15 plays were absolutely perfect, and then the next 60 were garbage. Then he got, like, progressively he's getting things are getting better and better. Like, this was almost a complete game. I mean, it was the best, I think, play. But there are just some times where I feel like I'm watching Mike McCarthy again. Just sometimes when it's 3rd and 1, you need a yard, and instead of running vertical, you're running horizontal. Or you're running a pass play, or there's just sometimes where he gets a little cute, or he doesn't do, like, you have Danny Vitale.
Yeah.
Use him. You need a yard. That dude gets a yard when he stands up from the couch. Give him the ball, let him get the yard, and then move up. And then
depends on what he's been watching,
I suppose. But then so there are sometimes. That being said, I loved some of the things he did this week. I loved with Aaron Jones especially. Those screen passes were just amazing, perfect time, perfect call. So I'm willing to live with some of the 3 and outs on the weird play calling. But, imagine in like 2 or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, if he gets his stuff together and calls a complete game. I mean, 45 points a game isn't out of the question, I don't think.
Yeah, what I think I like, Kevin, and I don't know if you agree with me, is that Matt LaFleur seems to he's certainly more creative and less kind of static than we were seeing with Mike McCarthy. But there's more creativity. It just seems like there's I don't know, the offense is more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like on any play, last year it felt like, here comes a deep pass and an incompletion. Oh, here comes a run up the middle and it's 3rd and 9. At least this year it feels like it's not like – it doesn't feel like the head coach was getting a massage while putting together the game plan, I would say.
Don't knock that. That sounds amazing to me.
Todd asks in the live stream, does Rodgers not trust MVS or Geronimo enough to get them more involved? I don't think you can say that's the case.
Yeah.
He's gotten them involved. They just really haven't, especially in the last week, I should say, they just didn't take advantage of that. I mean, they had a lot of targets and just not a lot of activity. kind of like.
I mean, Rodgers overthrew Geronimo once, and he underthrew MVS once, and got that pass interference call. And I don't know if that was on purpose or if that was just an underthrown ball. But I really do think that there's still some growing pains there. There's still a learning curve in terms of the routes and the assignments. I mean, that being said, at some point Rodgers just has to say screw it and start chucking the ball at him, and you know, if they can't catch it, then fine. But Davante Adams isn't always going to be there, and Aaron Jones isn't always going to get 4 touchdowns. So something has to give.
But it's a good sign when that does happen, right? It's a good sign for what your offense can do and what your offensive capabilities are when you're missing your best receiver and you're still able to, you know, have a monster game from Jones like that.
Yeah,
I think.
Go ahead, James.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I think it's awesome. We scored 34 points, and we only scored running touchdowns. I mean,
on the road, against a pretty decent opponent.
Right, against the top 15 defense. I mean, it's getting better, and it's getting better. You know, I mean, I don't think there's anything to be all that concerned about at this point. Knock on fake wood. And
I think people look at the final score and forget that, you know, it's never going to be 31-3 easy. So Don't get worried about the fact that they came back and you know, because when all's said and done, they were down by 10, but you know, the Packers had another interception, forced another turnover, and did what they've been doing all day to secure the win, basically.
Yeah, we don't have the Jets on our schedule this year, so we don't get that.
I wish we had them and the Dolphins and the Dan Snyders.
3-way round robin.
Play both at the same time, for crying out loud.
Like Chinese checkers.
All right, before we go to break, let's talk about some great people who support our show. And the way they support our show is by going to patreon.com/TTSO. For a small or large per episode donation, you can get some bonus content. You will get the bonus show. You'll get the sound off released early to you. You will get Kevin's personal cell phone number. All sorts of things for your benefits. And
I don't even have that.
Also, my Snapchat account.
His
I'm winking profusely for all those you listening on the podcast.
Winking. Because you like to send nudes. So for those of you who are our patrons, thank you. And we'd like to specifically thank our OG patrons right now.
Yes, we would. I would love to do that as I click on the correct paper. Okay, so we're talking our OG patrons are Scott Neer, Chris Korsmo, Jason Hicks, Milo Meadsong, and James Hamblin. You know, guys, I know the theme of the show is pierogies, right? And so, like, my whole thing was going to be like, oh, you can't spell pierogies without these 5, you know, lovely people. But in fact, you can't spell pierogies because we don't have some of the letters. But what you can spell with all these lovely people's names is interjectionary Johnson grasses, blackmails, hammocks, mids. I don't know what any of that means, but those are some words that I
know some of those words.
Well, hammocks. It's HO. It's not HA. And I don't know if that's different. I didn't really look up what it was. It could be a very dirty word in some language. I don't know. I don't think it is. But
we're not banned in Eastern Timor.
And I know OHM. That's like a unit of like power, like electricity or something. So I do know that.
Well, so thank you to our OG patrons. We're going to take a short break there. So if you're watching live, and we're going to stand here and not do anything while the commercial plays, but we won't be long. We're back and we'll talk. Well, first of all, we're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers' presser. That's very important. Then we're going to talk about the game upcoming against the Lions. We're going to play our games, voicemails, Papa K, all sorts of stuff coming up.
Under pressure.
Did you know that you can help support our show financially without any additional cost to you? Well, if you use Amazon, and let's face it, who doesn't? You can go through our Amazon affiliate link, and we'll get a small portion of the proceeds. You pay nothing extra, and you still get your awesome stuff delivered in like 2 days. So go to www.titletownsoundoff.com/Amazon and just order like you normally would, and you help the show. That's www.titletownsoundoff.com/Amazon. Happy shopping.
Drop it like it's hot.
If you would like to support the show and help others find it, give us a review and a rating. Go to Apple Podcasts and write something nice and give us 5 stars. Thanks.
Welcome back, Packers fans. After the win in Dallas, the stadium where the Packers seemingly have won more games than the Dallas Cowboys, Aaron Rodgers gave a presser. And if you don't always watch the post-game press conference, you should. James, is there a problem?
No, I just feel bad ignoring my patrons.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, your patron. Damn it. James, you have some wonderful Hall of Famers who I would never forget about. And we have to talk about them right now.
We do. Hey, I remember who you guys are. So we have Jeff Augustine, Paul Goldsack, which is my favorite Bond villain, Kyle Turpinning, Nick, still not John Glenn, but I did hear he went to Uranus, DJ Lightfoot, and Will Zin Savage. You know what? I'm sorry, Nick. That was an easy. I'm sure you've heard that before, and I apologize for making it easy.
He probably has not heard that before. I can't imagine he has heard that before.
If you have, well, now you have, and I apologize. Please don't take away your patronage. But anyway, so I don't know if you guys know of this band from the '80s called Motley Crue. Their guitarist, bassist, one of them is named Nikki Six, and that's just these guys stacked up in a trench coat.
It's an awfully long bass.
A hummock is a ridge in an ice field. I mean, James Hamlin might be making that up, but that's what he tells us. And I'm not going to look it up, so I believe him. All right. So in his press conference, Aaron Rodgers was asked what I thought was a really important question that he refused to answer. So I'm going to play the audio, and you guys tell me what you think.
I was very mad.
What was the key to distributing your Packer City Lightning to all your button men? Like all-decade torpedo Laverne Delweg?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Packers 1920s stalwart, Laverne Delweg. NFL all-decade tight end.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's a good question, though.
How did you distribute your Packers City Lightning to your button, I believe it is, button men?
Button men, yes.
Very disappointing to hear that Aaron Rodgers refused to answer that. Kevin, I have a question for you. What is Rodgers hiding?
Oh, man, this is a really interesting question. It's really going to get down to the deep state when we talk about it. So maybe we should just dedicate a whole nother episode to this.
That's probably smart. All right, let's go on to talk about the Lions game. James, Packers play the Lions. First of all, Lions have been better than probably all of us, at least all of us on this show, thought they would be. Is this Lions team a legitimate team?
They have a good defense. And
they tied the Cardinals. They tied the Cardinals.
They did tie the Cardinals. I feel like that's kind of been the theme of the year so far. Is we play teams with like top 15 or 16 defenses, but they have good defenses. They still have 1 or 2 wide receivers whose names you might recognize. I don't remember who they are off the top of my head because it's the Lions. And they still have Meathead slinging the ball back there. So, I'm if the Packers beat the Cowboys in Dallas, there's zero reason for them to lose to the Lions at Lambeau. Zero.
And this is a really important game, right? You win this game, you go 5-1, which by itself is huge. But you win this game, you go 5-1, having beaten all of your division opponents once, meaning the worst you can do in the division is a split. For tie-breaking purposes, it's a huge game. This is not some sort of must-win game whatsoever. But Kevin, if they win this game, the Packers put themselves in a really good spot.
Yeah, I mean, they do, because I think if they lose the game, they're still going to be the top of the division, right? Because they have the tiebreaker. They would have a tiebreaker with Minnesota or Chicago if they won. So yeah, definitely getting a win would put you even further ahead. So I think a home game is very I'd like to see a better performance this particular home game than we saw last home game on Thursday night. I'm hoping it's not like a prime time glitch that the Packers have. I hope it's just that one instance where they didn't perform too well.
And that was a Thursday night.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what's the most important things in your mind. Is it more important to get the running game on track again, or is it more important to get obviously to get both is great, but is it more important to get the running game established or to get the passing game in better form than it's been against this Lions team?
Who?
James.
I'm not entirely certain that this is the game you are going to be really focused on trying to get your passing game back to where it should be, because the Lions have a really, really good secondary. Darius Slay he's top 3 or 4 in the league. So,
Kill you.
They're good. That being said, these are the types of games throughout his career where Aaron Rodgers has it's either feast or famine with him in these types of games, where he'll either go off for 350 and 3 touchdowns, and surprise people because the Lions defense is so good, or he'll come out and lay a stinker or an average game. I think with the way the offense is going, I think that LaFleur is going to pound the rock. I really do. I don't know what Jamal Williams' status is. I doubt he comes back this week, just because that was a hell of a shot he took.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to get Dexter Williams involved this week now that he's had a week to kind of get used to things, or if they're going to stick with Trey Carson. Maybe they'll hand the ball off to Vitale 10 times. I don't know. Vitale, whatever. So I think LaFleur's first love is running the ball, and I think that's what they're going to work on.
Hunter sure asked in the chat, and I'm curious too. Have you guys heard how much longer do you think Adams is going to be out? It could be significant, right?
Yeah, I think he's going to be out until he gets better.
Ooh, I like that.
That's hard hitting, exactly.
But all depends on how hard Dr. McKenzie pushes him to get back on the field.
Yeah, exactly. So now let's talk about the offensive line. Even after losing Corey Linsley, it was concussion, right? That's why he was out. Even after losing Corey Linsley, the offensive line looked very good, especially in the run game. James,
yes.
What are they? What now? His name has completely escaped me. The center,
Lucas Patrick.
Yeah, Lucas Patrick performed exceptionally well considering the spot that he was forced into. Tell me a little bit about him.
Well, I know more about him than Troy Aikman does, because Troy Aikman on 3 separate occasions called him Patrick Lucas. So there's that. But so I read a really, really good article today in the Athletic. That Lucas Patrick, it was an interview with him, and just talking about how Aaron Rodgers really kind of took him under his wing and was a great leader and a friend towards him in a time when he really didn't think he was going to even make the team. Like he was leaving the building one day. His mom had come to visit, and he was leaving with his mom. And Aaron Rodgers made a point to stop them as they're driving out of the parking lot, and and introduce himself to his mom. It's so Aaron Rodgers. I think, despite those two wonky snaps that he had, episode title "Wonky Snaps." Despite those two wonky snaps that he had, Aaron Rodgers really seems to like the guy. And if he trusts him, then I think all is good. I really do.
I think.
Go ahead, Kev.
Sorry, I think maybe the topic of that conversation that Aaron Rodgers had was like, "Hey, I'm looking for a new family. If you guys are adding anybody,
will you adopt me?"
Your mom seems so much nicer than mine. But
you'd be a cool brother. I don't have any cool brothers.
Yeah. So we've got a primetime game coming up against the Lions, an important primetime game. So I guess here's my question about that. Do you like, as a fan, you can take this out however you want, as a fan or from the team's perspective, Kevin, do you like when the Packers play primetime games?
That is a good question, right? I like the primetime game because the primetime game fits my schedule best. You know what I mean? So convenient. It's most convenient for me to watch. Right. I won't deny that. Recently, Packers it feels like they lay a lot of turds in primetime games, so they make me a little bit skeptical in general. But yeah, I like primetime games, especially home games. Sometimes you get some annoying announcing, but the more the merrier. Especially living not in the Green Bay area, and having to rely on satellite dish to watch my games, or it makes it nice because I can watch from my house if it's prime time. Was that the question?
James,
It was.
It was a good answer.
I kept
Very
going.
well thought out. My answer: I hate them. I hate them with a fiery, burning passion. I don't know about anybody else out there, and maybe it's just me. It probably is because I'm just a weird dude. But I get this horrible anxiety, about 3 or 4 hours before a noon game. Even I just start feeling the jitters. I'm not playing. I have no real, stake in this thing. Right, but I feel like I am, and I know it's sick, and I probably should be put away. But my point is, if we have a game at 7:00 at night, I have to feel that way for 16 hours, and I hate it. I hate it. And then I have to get up super duper early for work, 4:00 in the morning. So a lot of the times these things don't end till 10:30, 10:45. The game against the Eagles didn't end here till 11 because of numbnuts knocking his teammate out. So it doesn't jive as well for my schedule as it does for Kev.
Yeah, it's funny because that's kind of the main reason why I like it, and one of the main reasons why it works against you is just personal schedules.
Oh, Todd Pavlovsky mentions the Monday Night Football crew is terrible. Do we have to hear? Is Monday Night Football? Is that Booger or is that Sunday night?
I think it's Booger.
Oh God, you're a grown-ass man. You go by Booger.
Go by a formal name, like Nose Goblin.
I like primetime games for one reason. When they're home games, I love seeing Lambeau at night and knowing that those people are more sauced than they normally would be if this was an afternoon game. That is something I enjoy.
And me too. I get more sauced too because I'm not a good day drinker. I can drink at night, right? But I can't drink during the day. So,
all right. So, anything else about this upcoming game, James, that we forgot to cover that we should talk about?
I hope that the injuries are worrying me a little bit. Hopefully Kevin King is okay, and hopefully I don't know about Savage. I have a feeling he's probably not going to play. But I mean, on paper, it's a game the Packers should win. So, I really hope they do. I won't. It'll be really hard for me to watch my team get beat by the Lions on a Monday night.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to one of our new segments. This is the David Bakhtiari 69 of the week, not endorsed by David Bakhtiari.
69, dudes!
Nice.
69!
Nice.
This week, the number of Aaron Jones targets in the passing game minus the number of Geronimo Allison receptions equals the number 69. That's not correct. The number of Jones yards. He didn't have 71 targets. The number of yards in the passing game Aaron Jones had minus the number of receptions for Geronimo Allison. And that gets you
69, dudes!
Nice.
69!
Nice.
So, segment's not going as well as
Oh man, one of our patrons, is a math teacher.
They will definitely call us on that one. All right, we got some voicemails this week, and one of them I'm hesitant to play, but that I'll hold off on that one. Let's go first to Gabe. Here he is.
Hey y'all, it's Gabe here. Well, what a win. That was awesome. Our Packers beating them boys 34-24. And of course, you know who I got to give my shout out to? My boy Aaron Jones, y'all. Man, what a career day he had. I mean, that's just incredible. But anyway, of course, well, I got a little scared there at the end, though. I thought they were going to kind of like screw the pooch there, but I mean, oh my goodness. But yeah, it was overall, hey, it was a good win, and glad that we're 4-1, and hopefully they'll pick up the momentum still and take it into the Monday night game against the Lions. So we'll see how it goes, and then of course I'll be there in a couple of weeks to see them take on the Raiders. So pretty excited about that. So, but it's a birthday gift for me though. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But anyway, guys, well, just wanted to give my thoughts on the game and, of course, give a shout-out to Aaron Jones. But anyway, good night, bless, and go, Pack, go.
There it is, right at the end.
You got the left blinker there. Gabe, if you're just joining us as a viewer or listener, Gabe was the man who first predicted that Aaron Jones would come to the Packers when he was in college, and I believe we probably mocked him for that prediction, but he was correct, and his left blinker is famous. So
he was really he's the conductor of the Aaron Jones fan train, I think.
He was, and he was.
I do think his blinker won a Tidy Award.
It did.
I think it did.
There's a throwback.
We've got another call from Mr. Patron himself and math professor, James Hamblin. Heavy on the mic.
Hey guys, it's James Hamblin calling. I just wanted to chime in and say I'm super excited about the Packers being 4-1. Great win against the Cowboys. I just don't get what's going on with all this negativity I'm seeing. I mean, was it a perfect game? No. Were there, things that could be cleaned up? Sure. But I mean, we're 4-1. We won on the road. Aaron Jones is a beast. The defense is playing lights out. I think everything is great. And if you're looking at these games and not having a good time and not enjoying it, then I think you got to re-examine some stuff. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for everything you do. Great show. Talk to you guys later.
That is going to win the Titletown Sound Off Perfect Call of the Week, which we had.
We just invented.
We've never had it out before. But I totally agree. I saw negativity about this game, James, and why?
That's an easy one, Chris. I'm glad you asked me that. I wish this was the patron show, but it's not, because there's words I want to say that I can't. Some people are not satisfied with their lives unless they're absolutely miserable. And they're afraid to let any happiness come into their souls because they're scared that the happiness will go away and then they'll be sad. Let it let it flow. Let it come on in. Be happy. It's a good thing.
Without sadness, there is no happiness.
That's right.
Without ketchup, there is no mustard.
I don't think that checks out. I'm gonna have to run the numbers, but I don't believe that for 1 second.
Where do the hot dogs come in?
If you are sitting there listening to this podcast and you think, I cannot wait to call and talk at these people, you can do that by dialing 920-445-TTSO. 920-445-TTSO is the way to get to our voicemail. Don't worry, we won't answer the phone. We will let you leave a message. As you can tell, pretty much any message will get on the show.
We really need to fill some time. It's really becoming an issue for us.
There is one last call I was hesitant to play. Well, I'm just going to play it. I have to. It's upsetting.
Hey everybody, I'm Kyle, obviously the patron, but I have some very interesting news. At work, I work at the Grand Canyon Railway, and one of my passengers today was Mike McCarthy's sister. I know that doesn't seem all that important. However, I did find out that Mike McCarthy actually does not like pierogies that much. He eats them, but he's not a huge fan of them. This has been Kyle with some very, very important, news about the Packers and our former head coaches, and that is it. See ya, and go Pack Go.
Here's what I have to say.
This was a bonus show right here. This is an entire.
How dare you on National Pierogi Day? How dare you?
No, hold on a second. He eats them, but he doesn't like them. That's what an overweight guy says.
Who casually eats pierogies?
Right, exactly. You eat it because you like them. They're not exactly like you seek out pierogies.
I can't believe that's a lie. I can't. No. I have created a narrative. No.
If you're still in the chat, Kyle, we need to know: did you actually ask Mike McCarthy's sister if he eats pierogies? Because if you did,
that's the best question ever.
You're one of my heroes.
You shot your shot.
For real. I so much respect for you asking Mike McCarthy's sister if he likes pierogies. That's badass.
Anyone listening, this phone call is not canon. So no matter what, we will still consider Mike McCarthy to eat pierogies uncontrolled, with no ability to control himself.
To be fair, I just assume everybody from Pittsburgh just eats them 3 meals a day.
So Kyle tells us he truly did ask Mike McCarthy's sister if he enjoys pierogies. So Kyle, my next question is: at what point did she file for a restraining order?
Actually, I want to know. Is his sister
just out of context? It's amazing.
As soon as he walked away, she was probably like, "Yeah, family, we have a problem. Somebody's on to Mike and his pierogi issue." like he's probably wallowing at the Betty Ford Clinic right now in pierogi juice, and we're just making.
First it was the massages. Now they found out about the pierogies. Someone from inside the family is leaking this information.
Is Mike McCarthy's sister Melissa McCarthy?
That's correct.
Oh, I love her. She's hilarious.
That's one of my favorite phone calls we've ever had, because
that's I give a lot of respect for Kyle for
nice
asking
work,
that.
Kyle.
You should be an investigatory journalist. To be honest,
we basically interviewed Mike McCarthy just twice removed.
Because you asked a question that was easy to answer, that you could get an answer for, and you did. And I think you should be our roving correspondent. If you ever run into anybody's famous brothers or any famous brothers or sisters again, please
for the
call
love
us.
of God, go wherever Aaron Rodgers' brothers go. Find them.
He is officially our Titletown Soundoff train correspondent. That's his official title. Thank you, Kyle. That's amazing. I couldn't be happier that you asked that question. All right, so we got some other things to get to, and I got to look at our Google Doc to figure out what those things are. We've got our voicemail done. Now, next up, we've got Papa K, who's going to give us his wit and or wisdom, usually not both at the same time, for this week's game.
Hi, this is Bill Kostofko with some thoughts after the Packers' exciting and important 34-24 win over the Dallas Cowboys, America's team. First of all, about Aaron Jones and the offensive line and the great job that it did. A lot of people, and this is mostly fantasy football people, have been wanting Jones to have the workload that he had on Sunday and to have it every week. Well, take a look at the ceremony in the dressing room when Matt LaFleur handed the game ball to Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is not a huge guy. He's 5'9", 208. He's had some injury problems in college, which was one of the reasons why he wasn't drafted earlier than he was. He's really not built to be carrying the ball 20 and 25 times per game for a 16-game plus playoffs. That's been shown by the injury history that he has. So, again, we've talked about this before. Really think that Jamal Williams and now Trey Carson are going to be very important parts for this team. It's going to be important that Jones has a backup. Let's see what's going to happen with Christian McCaffrey of the Carolina Panthers. He's only 5'11", 205. He's been averaging 27 touches per game for the first 5 games of the season. That doesn't include the times he stayed in the block. I just really wonder if he's going to make it through the season. He rarely comes off the field. I think the Packers are wise in spacing out Jones' touches, and I think we're going to see that more once Jamal Williams comes back. Also, on Jones' third touchdown, the waving bye-bye to the Cowboy defender was outstanding. That was one of the, for me, highlights of the game. I'm really surprised, given the state of officiating in the NFL now, that he didn't get a taunting penalty that would have negated the touchdown. I have to admit I was pretty surprised by that, but loved the gesture. Another thought, hurry back Davante Adams. The Packers really miss him, and still we have questions about whether Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Geronimo Allison are able to carry the load as 1 and 2 receivers for any lengthy period of time. Aaron Jones, of course, caught a number of passes in the game, but the Packers do have to have contributions from their outside receivers. I don't know if Valdes-Scantling and Allison are those guys long-term. Hurry back, Davante Adams. And another note, Packer fans, I cringe when Mason Crosby's kickoffs do not result in touchbacks. There have been too many times, and I think it's happened at least twice this year, where Crosby has had to make the tackle. And when he seemed doubled over after the one on Sunday, there was considerable reason for concern that he had been injured. So Mason either kick the ball out of the end zone or somebody make sure to tackle the returner before he gets to Mason Crosby. One of the interesting things to watch with this team, even though the Packers gave up 563 yards of offense to Dallas, if you make a mistake against this team, you'll have to pay for it. For example, on the opening possession, Amari Cooper had beaten Jair Alexander for what should have been a touchdown, but the ball clanked off Cooper's hands, and Alexander was there for the pick, turned it around, and led it to a Packer touchdown. A 14-point swing. Granted, the Packers gave up a lot of yards, but with their sacks and the 3 turnovers, you can't make as many mistakes against this defense as the opponent used to be able to make. That's a welcome sight. And also a welcome sight is to see the fire in this team. How many times did we complain in the last couple years that the Packers didn't seem prepared, didn't seem ready, didn't seem inspired, didn't seem to be up for the opponent, especially the Arizona Cardinals type teams? That seems to be changing, and that certainly seems to be a reflection on the coaches and on the players' attitude, and especially these new guys, the Smith brothers, who have come in and brought a new attitude and a new spirit to it. Finally, one of my favorite moments of the game, in addition to the waving bye-bye of Aaron Jones, was the shot of Jerry Jones up in his Posh Box after Kevin King's interception, the third pick of the day by Dak Prescott. I always love watching Jones when the Cowboys lose. When he sits up there in his box and gets frustrated and pounds on the table, that just was frosting on the cake of a delicious victory. The Packers are 4-1. Who would have thought that? And the next win is against the Lions a week from Monday. Should be a good one. Thanks for listening. Good night.
We didn't talk about it, but Aaron Jones with the taunt into the end zone was one of my favorite moments of that game. Kevin, what do you say to the curmudgeons who claim that this team is getting too cocky?
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think the team is getting too cocky. I wasn't a huge fan of it.
Oh, of course you weren't, because you want people to get off their lawn.
No, that's not true. I listen, there's a time and a place for everything, right? And I think that at that point, it seemed like a good idea, but it didn't really – I mean, they won the game, but I don't know. I feel like that might have been a bit much. It was fine. Like, I don't have any problems with it whatsoever, but it was maybe a bit much.
I would have never thought in a million years, that Papa K would be like, this was awesome, and he'd be like, eh.
I honestly think that Papa K, if that had been a Cowboys touchdown, he would have not been pleased with that. He would not have had the same opinion. I mean, I think we all can agree that probably would have.
But that's why you enjoy it, because you hate when someone else does it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess so.
Did anyone else catch Papa K saying the next win is against the Lions, not the next game is against the Lions?
I caught him saying "have been wanting," which is the noise you heard me scribbling on that you picked up. I'm that is one of becoming fast becoming one of my biggest pet peeves. Have been wanting.
I've been wanting Crunchwrap Supreme for the last hour.
Yeah. I wanted Crunchwrap Supreme. Exactly. I gotcha.
But I also have been wanting one for an hour.
I've wanted one for the last hour. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure you have. You have been wanting.
This got weird.
Actually, so funny. Okay, so with that comment, right? So always getting off the lawn. We had a next door neighbor growing up who would put a line. He put a line from our lawn to his lawn to keep us off of his lawn.
It was like two stakes with a row, like a piece of twine, as if it were like a symbolic fence.
It was literally like just an invitation for us to find new ways to cross it. It was fun.
It was. All right, let's. We got to play our games. Our first game we have coming up is True or False.
True or false, true or false, true or false, true or false. It's time to play True or False.
Kevin, take it away.
All right, true or false. We're going to go straight to the Week 5 stuff because we're a little bit tight on time here. And because I haven't tallied the scores from last week yet. What? Okay. Oh, whoops. Well, I wasn't supposed to say that part out loud. All right, question number 1. Chris, we're going to start with you.
All right.
In Week 5 versus Dallas, Aaron Jones ran for 107 yards with 4 touchdowns on 19 carries. He also had 7 receptions for 75 yards. True or false? In Week 6 versus Detroit, Jones will hit any one of those benchmarks.
All right, so what are the ones that count here?
So 107 yards or 4 touchdowns or 19 carries or 7 receptions or 75 yards.
75 yards receiving, right?
Correct. Yes.
I'm going to say false.
That's how good his game was.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
James, what do you think?
You know what? I'm also going to say false.
I'm going to say true because I'm bad at this game. Question number 2. Oh, Ryan, I like the way Ryan Schilling thinks. He agrees with me.
That's true as well. Yep.
All right, question number 2. The Packers defense continues to take advantage of mistakes and force turnovers. This year, through 5 games, they have 7 interceptions, while Lions quarterback Meat Stafford has only thrown 2. True or false? In Week 6, the Packers will intercept a Stafford pass.
Who's going first?
Oh, it doesn't matter. Chris.
True. I say true. That meathead's going to throw 3 interceptions.
James, what do you think?
The law of averages, my friend, it's true.
I should probably write these down, right? I'll just listen later. No big deal. Question number 3. Oh, I have to answer that one as well. I'm going to say true. I think that the Packers will intercept Stafford because he's a meathead. He's a meat lover. That didn't come out right. That's not what I meant. Question number 3, James.
Yes.
The Packers should really put in some extra practice to stop opposing teams from big kickoff returns. The Lions, on the other hand, say, nay, give us a chance to return the hog bladder, for we have a high-quality returnsman, and are the only team so far in 2019 to return a kickoff or a touchdown. True or false? In Week 6, the Lions will have a total of at least 30 kickoff return yards.
If it were in the dome, I would say that everything's a touchback, but it's not. So give me whatever one means that I think they're going to get a 30-yard return.
So that's true. That's a true.
I got confused.
Chris, will the Lions say, nay, give us a chance to return the hog bladder, for we have a high-quality returnsman?
They may say that, but they shan't return it for more than 30 yards. False.
False. Okay, good. All right, question number 4. Oh, I have to answer that again. Okay. I think that one's going to be false. I think that these are going to be some touchbacks, and because I'm bad at this game. Question number 4, James.
Yes.
In the last 3 games, fullback Danny Vitale has had at least 1 carry or reception in each of them. True or false? Vitale will have either a carry or a reception in Week 6.
Danny Vitale is going to get a touchdown this week.
Damn.
But will he have a reception or a carry?
via one of those 2 methods, yes.
All right.
It could be a fumble recovery in the end zone, but I'm going to say
it could be, I guess.
True as well. He will have at least a carry or a reception.
And I'm going to say true as well, because the last 3 games he's had 1, and I think the trend continues. All right. And question number 5. Before we have a little bit of a surprise, guys, I'm not going to lie. There's a little surprise after question number 5. True or false? J.K. Gorgeous Stork Scott will have a net punt of at least 48 yards. James, what do you think?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to go true on that until he proves me wrong. I said it last week. That's just how it is.
Same. True.
Yep. Agreed. And now, for a little bit, just to mix it up a little bit, guys, I'm going to spin the wheel to see which question is going to be worth a double points, because we have a wheel. So why not? Which question's worth double points? Here, let's move the wheel and spin it. Question number 3. That was a really bad spin, but it doesn't matter because it's not really about that. Question number 3 is now worth double points. So if you get that right, then you get 2 points. So it's possible to get extra credit this week, guys.
Love it.
That was great.
True or false is now over.
I'm not sure why none of these production jobs are accepting my resume, guys. I got to be honest with you. I'm really blowing it away here.
All right, let's go to our final game of the evening, and that is Spread 'em.
All right, hands on the hood and spread them.
All right, the spread this week, the Packers are minus 6 points at home. Chris, what do you think?
6-point favorites against the Lions. There was a time where this would be an easy call. You know what? I'm going to say the Packers cover. I will take the Packers.
James, what about you, bud?
First of all, that cat's adorable. So I have a thing now where I feel like I have to always take the other team because every time I have, the Packers have won, and the one time I took the Packers, they lost. So I'll take Detroit. The hell with it.
I'm going to take the Packers because I like it.
That's hashtag analysis. So if you're betting minute, you might want to, not listen to me.
I love it.
I don't know why the Packers haven't hired you as their bumper sticker guy yet.
We are. All right, let's wrap it up, guys. We're a little bit over time. I want to thank everybody who joined us on the live stream. It's a lot of fun every Tuesday night, approximately 10 Eastern or 9 Central. We will be on live on Facebook. If you like our page, you will also then see our broadcasts when they're posted. You can also, remember, find our Facebook group. That's the TTSO Packers Talk group. Search it, find it, ask to join, and we will probably let you in unless you're a psychopath. Now that we're wrapping up the show, Kevin, what do you have to add before we get out of here?
I don't really have much to add, although I will say that our sister has been listening to the podcast and informed me that James is by far the most knowledgeable. Chris, you're the second most knowledgeable. And she said, and my quote is, Kevin, I'm not even sure you watch the games most week. Well, Caitlin, joke's on you, because I do watch the games. I'm just not very smart.
All right, James, what do you got?
Caitlin, I like the cut of your jib. I like that. If you've made it 70 minutes, holy mackerel! If you made it 70 minutes into this thing, tweet us the word endurance because that's what it takes to listen to us for 70 minutes.
Nice. And again, thanks to everybody who joined us, whether it's on, live on Facebook, on YouTube, because we do put these shows up on YouTube in the podcast form. However you listen or watch, we appreciate it. We'll be back next week. And when we return next week, the Packers will be 5-1. And we'll all have erections that last longer than 4 hours. Nothing's going to happen.
You too.
Mine's already happening.
The preceding podcast was a production of Productions Institute, LLC. Copyright 2019. All rights reserved. Don't steal our crap.